supernaturally. Now, what predictions would we make? You know, you weren't there. I wasn't there. Dr. Plimer wasn't there. We didn't have any witnesses, and how can we know? Well, we have the products, you see, either of creation or evolution. And there's certainly going to be a difference between those products if we were created or if we evolved. Furthermore, the evolutionist says that evolution has occurred by natural processes still occurring today. Therefore, there must not be any contradiction between the laws of science, natural processes, and the theory of evolution. So let's look at some of these natural processes. Let's look at the science of thermodynamics. Now, if we all come from hydrogen gas, then I think you would agree that matter must have an inherent tendency, an intrinsic ability to transform itself from disorder to order, from simple to complex. And scientists should have constructed a natural law which describes such a natural tendency of matter. On the other hand, if creation is true, we would not predict that matter would have this intrinsic ability to promote itself to higher and higher levels of organization. But if anything has happened since creation to change the initial created state, this could only promote matter downward, couldn't promote it upward. Therefore, on the basis of creation, we might expect that matter would have a natural tendency to go from order to disorder, from the complex to the simple. Now, you see, evolution says this way, creation says that way. Now let's go out in the real world and let's just take a look. Let's see what's going on out there. Well, first of all, let me point out, no scientist has ever recognized an inherent tendency of matter to promote itself from disorder to order, from simple to complex. That's not known. That's not the way things go in nature. But they always have a tendency to go in the opposite direction, from order to disorder, from complex to simple. As a matter of fact, this tendency is so universal, so unfailing, it's been formalized as the second law of thermodynamics. Now, the second law of thermodynamics says many things. One thing it does say is that there is this natural tendency of all systems, whether we're talking about clusters of galaxies or stars, our bodies, our houses, machines, whatever, there all is this natural tendency to go downward, to deteriorate and to decay. And it's a natural law. Everything obeys that law. Open and closed systems, it doesn't make any difference. There's always a tendency to go in that direction. Now, I'm going to allow Isaac Asimov to state this for us. I had a debate with Isaac Asimov in the pages of Science Digest, October 1981. We were each allowed to write an initial argument. The editor exchanged these arguments, and then we wrote a rebuttal. And in my initial argument, I quoted the following statement by Dr. Asimov and challenged him to explain how evolution could take place in the light of the facts, as he so stated. Now, may we have that first slide? You want to turn on? Now, we need to dim the lights, and it's going to take just a little bit of time to get the lights turned down. Now, I'll read this for you, because I doubt if many of you can read it anyhow. Now, this was published by Isaac Asimov in the Smithsonian Institute Journal, June of 1970, on page 6. He says, and I quote, "Another way of stating the second law, then, is the universe is constantly getting more disorderly. Viewed that way, we can see the second law all about us. We have to work hard to straighten a room, but left to itself, it becomes a mess again, very quickly and very easily. Even if we never enter it, it becomes dusty and musty. How difficult to maintain houses and machinery and our own bodies in perfect working order. How easy to let them deteriorate. In fact, all we have to do is nothing, and everything deteriorates, collapses, breaks down, wears out, all by itself. And that is what the second law is all about." End of quote. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it seems to me that if that is what the second law of thermodynamics is all about, the theory of evolution is in serious trouble. You see, there is this universal natural tendency for everything to go downward, to decay. Now, this second law of thermodynamics always applies to an isolated system, without exception. An isolated system is a system in which no work is being performed by anybody on the outside. It's a system into which nothing is being brought in from the outside. It's an isolated system. Everything that takes place within that system is a process of self-transformation. The second law says, without exception, that system will deteriorate, will become more random, less complex and ordered. It will never, ever, ever become more complex, more highly structured, and more ordered. Never. And yet evolutionists believe that the universe is an isolated system that started in a state of primordial chaos and disorder and simplicity and has transformed itself into this highly complex universe we have today, including the millions of living organisms on the surface. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a clear violation of the second law of thermodynamics. And nobody needs to stand up and start talking about open and closed systems. Because the universe, in the evolutionary view, is a closed system. It's an isolated system. The second law does apply to that. The universe simply could not have created itself. Creation scientists, this idea that the universe has created itself is pseudoscience. That's not science. That's a violation of the laws of science. And if we're going to be scientists, we're going to say we're going to explain everything in the light of natural laws, then we ought to discard that theory because it violates that natural law. Now, furthermore, the whole universe is running down. You know, all the stars are burning up their fuel. Someday they're all going to be dead and cold, you see. That is, if there is no God. Or if God would not intervene, this universe is certain to die. Because inevitably, someday, all those stars will be dark and cold. The universe will assume one even temperature, no further exchange of energy, no life, no activity. The universe will still be here, but it'll be dead. Now, this is a question which I have challenged evolutionists time and time again. I've never received a rational answer. If the natural laws and natural processes which now govern the universe are leading inexorably to its death and destruction, and if, as evolutionists believe, these natural laws and natural processes are all there is and all there ever has been, how could those very same natural laws create the universe in the first place? Is it possible that the very processes which are now destroying the universe could have been responsible for its origin? What sort of tortured logic would one have to use to reach such an impossible conclusion? Creation scientists reject that notion as being irrational, unscientific, and simply pseudoscientific. It has no relevance to anything related to origins. And so the science of thermodynamics certainly demonstrates the universe could not have created itself. Now, what about the complexity, the order that we find in the universe? Could that come about by chance? Is it possible? Well, there are ways of calculating those factors. Let's take a look here now at the next slide. Here is the structure of an enzyme. This is ribonuclease. It has 124 amino acids in it. It's a protein, of course. All enzymes are proteins. Enzymes, of course, are those catalysts which make chemical reactions go very rapidly, which ordinarily go slowly. And life could never exist without enzymes. The most primitive form of life imaginable would have to have hundreds of different kinds of enzymes, hundreds of DNA and RNA molecules, which are even more complex, and many other complex molecules. Now, we see in this enzyme 124 amino acids. That's a rather small protein. The average protein has 400 amino acids. Some have over 2,000 amino acids. But in this protein, we see lysine is number 1, glutamic acid is number 2, then threonine, alanine, 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 lysine, phenylalanine, glutamic acid, arginine, glutamine, histamine, and so forth. 124 amino acids arranged in precise order. Now, you can do some juggling around, but not much. It's fairly precise. Now, when you have those 20 amino acids arranged in that order, you have this enzyme. When you have 287 of those same 20 amino acids arranged in a different order, in 2 chains, you have hemoglobin. Or rearrange them in a different order, 188 of them, and you have human growth hormone. One's a hormone, One binds oxygen, one's an enzyme, but they perform biological function with tremendous preciseness and ability. How can we account for that precise order? The evolution says, just by chance. It just happened. That's all. You see, there is no selection. Amino acid doesn't select one over the other. Believe me, I worked with those for many, many years in the laboratory, synthesizing proteins, and it is hard work. It just does not happen naturally. They don't select. There's nothing like that. There's nothing delivered or preordained. So it's purely by chance. What is the probability we're going to get 124 amino acids arranged in that order? 1 over 20 times itself 124 times. Believe me, ladies and gentlemen, that is, the probability is absolutely zero. If you could try that 1 trillion times every second for 20 billion years,